Hi everyone. Today is May 6th, and here once again is another app. Um, this one, when I look at this on the phone, it really does a great job of kind of bringing everything into focus. Let me see if I can just pull this down slightly. No, I think you can see it. Yeah. Um, so here, some of these numbers are actually being saved in local storage. So I just opened this like a few minutes ago. And so the local storage, I've experimented with that a little bit before. That's kind of like having almost like cloud storage where um, there's a local memory. So you can create some continuity when you're using an app and saving um, so basically, what I wanted to do was kind of recreate some sort of flashcard, kind of Anki kind of approach to flashcards. Uh, this is basically there's a kind of an animation effect that gives the impression that you're flipping a card. Um, and then I wanted to add in a little bit of an audio part. So with these
あ
samples,
の人は医者です。
so ano, ano isto, hanai, hai shades. Ah, trying to read it. Yeah.
あの人は医者です。
Ano isto wa ishita desu. Um, yeah, I don't have a thing to slow it down,
あの
but
人は医者です。
okay, yeah, it's on the hover part. You can't see my mouse, but yeah, my mouse is over there, and so I'm just adding in like kind of do I recognize it? Am I learning it, or no, I don't know it. So I'm recognizing this symbol when I'm seeing the words like ito or like person. So I'm gonna say like I don't know about so. And this one I think is the day, the sun, or also in Japan for like the Nihon. Um, yeah, for the day, the sun. That's exactly the order it was. Um, so these ones I managed to find on Reddit. Um, Somebody had taken about 2,000 kanji and then through various sources taking a look at the frequencies to find out like of those 2,000 or so kind of list of essential ones to learn. And so on that, somebody asked for them to load it as a kind of a Google spreadsheet, and on the spreadsheet, I was able to filter it based on the number of those frequencies, and just take like the first 100 just to experiment with this kind of an app. I asked Claude, basically, like on the prompt that I gave it, of just like, I want to build a flashcard app. I like some of these soft pastel kind of colors and the kinds of stuff I see on New York Times on some of their games, and wanting to make it so that like a flashcard tool that I could have some kind of continuity with it and maybe vote on the cards, what I know, what I don't know, and find a way that I could kind of download these in a way. So basically, if I go up to this, like my list, it's basically just listing out the kanji that I apparently am starting to learn. So I'm recognizing, yeah, that's like the day, that's the sun. I'm recognizing that one is part of to see or look in like miru, and this one in like EA for like house. Um, so it's a small list right now. There's a long list of things that I'm not yet recognizing, and maybe a couple of these that start to look a little familiar. But if you ask me what they mean, I think that's like big. Um, think no, yeah. So these are ones that I still have to work on. Uh, and so putting these as a list, okay, now here it's putting like the kanji, the pronunciation, what the meaning is basically. Um, and that's what I've looked at so far from this list of like 100. I tried throwing in all of these, like 1,000 of them into Claude, and it was running all of its calculations and just taking up way too much time. And then I had to wait a couple hours for like another attempt, and same problem. It's like, no, you're trying to do too much. So I just limited it to like, okay, I'm just gonna copy this like, first 100 to get a a minimum viable working kind of hello world version of this tool. And then after that, I can just throw in more batches of these, the next 100, the next 100, as I'm trying to go through and kind of just crash course teach myself, or I mean, it's a flashcard tool. Another really cool thing that they that it managed to put together here is kind of a browsing feature. So it just has like all of them listed here. That's kind of something cool to, if I could print this out on a wall or something, I would love to have that as like a wallpaper or something. And also up in these corners is some kind of a color coding. Unfortunately, I'm a colorblind, so recognizing what those colors are, they all kind of look similar to me. That's a little different from this, but the rest of them, or there's no dot on it. So, okay. So it's basically that color, or nothing. And then I like the tiles. This reminds me that there's some, I forget the name of the game where they have all these little tiles that are stacked up. I think it's like a Chinese game, but if I'm not mistaken, and kind of finding pairs of them. I forget what that's called, but and yeah, looking at them. Oh, okay, the ones that are unrated. So that's an interesting way to filter this. So those are the ones I haven't looked at yet, or filtering it of the no ones I think that I know well. Yeah, that's an interesting way to see a bird's eye view of these ones that I need to look at, and adding in some of these the meanings at a quick glance. That's another way to help review them, not just one by one. And then what's further on that. Yeah, so I think I'm really going to enjoy working with this tool. And it's crazy how it only takes up a couple kilobytes of code. And it's like, if I open this on my phone, it'll also create a local storage. It'll be different from the one that's on my computer. But the nice thing is I don't have to deal with any kind of little interruptions on an ad, or do I need the access to the Wi-Fi or something. This is just kind of self-contained, and that's really cool. The same thing when I was looking at the audio tracks from the sentences, that's also self-contained. So as long as the voices, for example, is stored on my phone as a voice, and also using the kind of computer text to speech similar, it's basically self-contained. So I can don't have to worry about using all of the Wi-Fi if I'm going for a walk and using mobile data or something like that. So I really love these little self-contained apps, and that I can use them multiple times, and it's just kind of, you get the scaffolding of something, and then you just start adding in more and more content, so that creates like this scalability of these kinds of tools. And then I can basically kind of download this list in a way, save it, or paste it somewhere else in a spreadsheet, and then come back to it if I want some other way to look at it. But these kinds of this gives the impression of these kind of tabs, but it's just basically just changing
今日はいい天気ですね。
what's on the screen, and flipping the flashcards to show. So yeah, I think it'll be a useful way to like combine all these things. So these tools so far that I've been experimenting with. So now here, the kanji and flashcards. I was looking at the kind of hiragana and two syllable words just a little bit before. Over the weekend, I was realizing that there are some differences on pitch. So I think that's where I would need to throw in the kanji in the background, so it's not just reading the two hiragana by themselves, that it's actually throwing in some of the pitch differences, so that I don't get in a bad habit of mispronouncing what that is, or recognizing it something differently. So little by little, as I gain a little bit more knowledge, I can add a little bit more familiarity with what to look out for, what to train my ear on and train my eyes on. And so, yeah, creating some of these things for the listening, reading, speaking, writing, and the ones with the sentences. I'm recognizing how random it can be, but if I can get them into a more guided approach, that's another thing to think about, along with the exposure, and exercises to go with it. So it's not just random, which is why some of these other audio programs like Pimsleur, for example, they're a bit more guided and step by step and kind of building on knowledge instead of just trying to get exposed to everything at once and hoping that something sticks. So, but experimenting with them on myself and kind of sharing some of these little insights of experimenting with them, it really brings some of these things to the foreground of what I like, what I don't like, what works, what's not working, why it's not working, how could I improve that. So it's just this constant reflection on like the language learning process, and my mind is just constantly buzzing right now, my brain kind of buzzing on just the information overload, but also just testing it to its limit to see kind of what works, what doesn't, when I'm exposed to some kind of a language that is considered challenging, on different levels of the the um, the characters, two sets of characters, a couple thousand uh, other symbols that need to be learned kind of one by one. Uh, uh, some of them have familiar shapes, some of them are a combination, and trying to look at them at a small view, it's not easily recognizable. So, but this is a whole learning process. Hola a todos, hoy es el 6 de mayo y estoy experimentando con un,
今日は
um,
いい天気ですね。
una nueva aplicación para aprender vocabulario de tipo kanji, y tipo flashcards. Y esto lo construyó Claude, y con algunas cosas que yo quería para aprender y recordarme y poder interactuar con la continuidad del aprendizaje. Entonces está haciendo varias cosas que sí me gusta y se puede expandir con más vocabulario. Y poco a poco puedo filtrar la información. Entonces me encanta cómo es, y lo interesante es que es muy poca contenido de programación que está en el archivo, pero sí se puede ir añadiendo más vocabulario. Y sigo experimentando con los otros, um, otras aplicaciones para aprender hiragana o escuchar frases, etcétera, y reflexionar un poco sobre funciona, no funciona, cómo se puede mejorar. Y sí, estoy disfrutando este proceso de expérimentar et voir qui fonctionne et qui non. Bonjour tout le monde, aujourd'hui c'est mercredi, c'est le 6 mai, et là j'ai encore une petite application pour apprendre des kanji, et j'ai demandé à Claude et AI de m'aider à construire un truc pour type flashcard. Et c'est en train de m'aider. Donc, je sais que ça, c'est le chiffre 1. Donc, au 1, bien, oui. Donc, ça, c'est plus facile. Là, je crois que c'est le grand. Grand, large. OK, oui.
大きな犬が走っている。
Et là, maintenant, je commence à reconnaître que c'est la sortie.
朝早く家を出た。
Ou de sortir, oui. OK. Ça, je ne sais pas. Ah, pour le livre, d'accord. Donc ça, ouais. Ça, c'est au milieu, je crois. Oui, au milieu. Ok. Oui, je vais mettre ça. Donc, ça, c'est juste une question de continuer à l'utiliser, écouter quand je peux, et aussi d'essayer de trouver des phrases avec ça. Donc, tout ça en ce moment, c'est une expérimentation de voir les applications qui peuvent m'aider, réfléchir sur si ça aide ou si ça me donne une mal à la tête ou comment je peux faire quelque chose de plus intuitif ou comment je varie entre les journées. Si je fais une activité une fois et une autre activité une autre fois, donc pour complémenter et pas essayer de juste uniquement faire une chose ou trop de faire. Et sachant que petit à petit, ça va augmenter ce que je reconnais. Euh, mais oui, c'est encore ein truc pour essayer. Hallo an alle, heute ist der 6. Mai und heute habe ich andere Programm für Japanesisch zu lernen und das ist für Kanji und lernen Anki, gleiche und äh, es ist hilfreich. Jetzt habe ich etwas für Kanji, andere Dinge für Hiragana, andere Dinge für Satze und hören, schreiben, sprechen. Und ich denke auch wie kann es besser sein und ist es hilfreich oder nicht und warum. Und jetzt, das ist alles für heute. Ciao a tutti, oggi è mercoledì, il 6 maggio, e ho continuato a fare una nuova cosa per imparare giapponese. Questa volta è kanji e flashcards. E non ho fatto questo, ho eh, utilizzato Claude e mi piace molto Claude perché si può fare molte cose ehm, e posso utilizzare questo nel telefono e nel computer. Mi piace e questo è un giorno, 2 giorni, ma penso che può avere più di parole con il tempo e questo è tutto per oggi. Um, и всем привет! Сегодня это среда, это 6 мая, и еще раз у меня есть новая программа, чтобы учиться японский язык. И этот раз это для канджи. И я хотел что-нибудь, чтобы помнить лучше, как flashcards и Claude мне помогало. И мне нравится использовать это, и думаю, что чуть-чуть я могу учиться новые канджи, и также, когда я слушаю, и я читаю, я могу знать, я знаю это, о, может быть, это значит это. И так, это все на сегодня. Большое спасибо, пока.